Good afternoon. This is Chimaingan with the Middle of the Res Road podcast. And today's guest is Michael Sullivan, who is a program manager with the Forestry Works of Minnesota. And Michael is going to talk about the recruitment efforts that he makes with getting individuals into the forestry industry. Buju Ginawa, Chimaingan Indigo, Nagachi Wanang and Dunjaba. And you're listening to the Middle of the Res Road podcast in collaboration with the Minnesota Tribal Contractors Council. This show is designed to promote the economic development of the trade industries in Minnesota and be the source of information about industry job opportunities, success stories, trainings, and upcoming projects for Native Americans. Here we also hold space to share our stories through language and culture as the core of our identities. Welcome to the Middle of the Res Road. Good afternoon. I'm one of your hosts, Chimaingan. I'm a Fond du Lac band member, and I'm here with Michael Sullivan, who's the program manager with the Forestry Works program of Minnesota. Good afternoon, Michael.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and let us know what you got going on with Forestry Works?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Michael Sullivan. I run a program in Minnesota called Forestry Works of Minnesota. And the program is really about bringing awareness and building a pipeline of qualified workers for the forest products industry. So I got into this a year ago or so, and it's been a rewarding year, and we've accomplished quite a bit in our first year.
So when you talk about forest products, you want to highlight that a little bit when you mention forest products?
So basically, what I've been doing over the past year, and I can give you a little background too on how I came to this role.
Yeah, absolutely.
if you want.
Yeah.
So basically, well, I grew up down in the Twin Cities area, but I've been 25 years plus now. I won't age myself too much, but in Duluth, Minnesota, based here, and kind of grew up here. Was originally going to go back down to the south and to the cities, and ended up meeting my now wife. Couple of kids, raised them here in Duluth, Minnesota, just stayed up in this northern area. I love the area itself. I love the north. I love being outdoors, and just found a role here. So with that, at the time I was working my wife and I were both in college. We were working at a local hotel, found a couple of jobs after that. I took a marketing and communications path with my job. So my background is a business administration degree, and if you can imagine this, I also had a minor in political science, which I didn't do anything politics wise, but it does help you when you're talking to people in the business world. So because everything kind of has politics to it. So that's my background kind of schooling wise, but I found or connect with a local manufacturing company, and started in sales, then moved to marketing from there, worked with that for over 20 years. And then when the pandemic hit, it's a lot of downturn in manufacturing, jobs, different things. There's a lot of uncertainties. So what I really ended up doing at that point was looking for a little bit of a change at that around the COVID time period. So I found another position in the advertising world, which was with a local company here, and doing marketing and working with clients. So now I'm kind of on the other side of the table, where I'm not the client, I'm working with other clients. But it was rewarding because I started to jump into a couple of clients that were local, that were in the forest products industry. And because of that, I really got a good feel for it. The path there, I also had a lot of clients that weren't even in the state of Minnesota. So I was approached by a couple people about this Forestry Works program after being with this company for 4 years or so. And it was really about building and bringing awareness to the industry and the need for jobs in the industry. I know that because of my background with manufacturing. It's, everybody's kind of looking for jobs and looking for this, but the forest products industry did not have a voice to have somebody go out and just talk about all these different jobs that are available. So from that, I met with a couple people, did some interviews a year ago or so, and decided, this is really a role that I'd love to get into because it is connecting with Minnesota specifically, connecting with northern Minnesota, connecting with the tribal communities, connecting with schools, with youth and kids, and showing them that there are career paths in this state where you can really just excel and take it from there. So that's kind of how I jumped in a long whirlwind of where my background came and how I ended up with this Forestry Works role.
So I believe, listening to you kind of you highlight that you're from the Duluth area, and I imagine you love this area, love the landscape. And I listened to you, and you talk passionately about being out on the land and knowing that knowledge, and you kind of just, I don't want to say fell into this role, but
Right.
you saw that it opened your eyes to this,
Right.
and it's almost like a success story for yourself. But also, you talk about wanting to get more people involved into this, and what avenues are you taking to do that outreach?
So the outreach that I started with here, again, it's been about a year that I've been in this role, and what I first did was connected with the paper mills, sawmills around the state of Minnesota, and the human resource managers and directors of those businesses to say, hey, this Forestry Works program is important. We're bringing jobs back into this industry. What are you doing as human resource managers to try to bring people into your business, find them, retain them, train them? So I connected with all the human resource managers. Then I started to go out on a few of the logging trails, met with loggers, and talked about kind of their roles in the whole circle of the forest products industry. I started up right after we did a video, which was to really spread the word through the tribal communities in Minnesota, and we put this video together. And I started right after that video, but you can see it on our website, and that was another way to kind of spread the word about how many paths there are, whether you want to be an engineer, whether you want to be a forester, whether you want to work for the DNR, the U.S. Forest Service, whether you want to be a logger, be a truck driver. There's just so many different paths available. So those are a few of the things I did. Then I also, those are kind of just some routes that I took, but I also started to connect with teachers around the schools all around the state of Minnesota, especially at the high school level. I met with a couple people from the DEED and the DNR who pushed to try to get people into talk in classrooms, talk to these natural resource groups, talk with, I met a couple of agriculture teachers, and from there ended up finding a dozen different job fairs that I went to at the high schools, where I go in with my table and my setup and my career cards and have some kids, what are you all about? And just talking to kids and just letting them know that, hey, what are your interests? What are you looking for? Do you have any path? What grade are you in? Are you 9, 10, 11, 12? And not pushing anything on them, because it's really just opening up an avenue and saying, there might be a path that you want to take in the forest products industry. What are your interests? What do you think you want to do in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, especially after high school? So the career fairs were great. Getting into the actual classrooms and talking specifically with kids who took a natural resources class and specifically wanted to take that class and had some interest in it. It's not even a mandatory class. Then you're starting to hit kids where this is an elective that they actually chose. So they might be looking at a path towards the Forestry Works program. So connected with schools, trying to, some of my goals are to get in further down the line, get, education goals, get stuff into the curriculums. It's going to be it's a longer path, but making early connections with that as well.
When you talk about curriculum, are you talking about like high school curriculum or college curriculum?
A little of both, yeah. So you have a lot. You have at the high school. And really with the forest, industry itself, there can be things certain people think, certain people don't, on what the forest industry is about. Educating, really just educating the importance of the industry, educating what all of these businesses are trying to do, the environmental side of things, just educating at that younger age. But then when I'm talking curriculum, yeah, it's in the high school side, but then especially like the 2-year colleges. You got North. I was down at a school a couple weeks ago, North Hennepin Community College down
Right.
in the Twin Cities. So I met with a number of people there, just starting to talk with and network and talk about, do they have programs available? One thing that's kind of cool with northern Minnesota is Bemidji State is just starting a forestry program that is going to begin next fall, 2025. In the fall in 2025, they're looking for a professor for that particular program right now. So it was just University of Minnesota, now Bemidji State, and Bemidji State is working back with Minnesota North on the 2-year kids that might want to transfer over to that. So educating across the board.
Right.
I'm making as many connections as I can in this first year that I've been working with this program, and then setting priorities and seeing what avenues are going to be the best and most promising.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking a lot about a lot of different positions, a lot of different avenues for employment here in the Forestry Works program. And some people might be listening and they would think about, do I need to go to school for this? You know, you've talked about Bemidji State, you've talked about 2-year schooling programs and 4-year.
Yeah.
Is there something that, looking into this, you know, do they need to go to a 4-year college or a 2-year college, or could they start something right out of high school if they needed to or wanted to?
Yeah, that's one of the great things that I met when I met with a lot of these HR managers, especially from the paper mills, that there are a lot of opportunities. And I express that to kids themselves that, hey, a lot of these companies do want to hire, even on the loggers, they want to hire a kid who might just be right out of high school. And we kind of call it the learn and earn type of piece,
Right.
where they bring you in, you learn how to do a certain role, and then you earn money from there. And you're going to be able to kind of go up the chain from there as you learn more, especially if you're talking about, if you're in a paper mill, you can learn multiple different roles at that business. And I mean, a lot of these big companies, they want somebody who's multitask. If someone calls in sick, they can do another job within the
Right.
mill. If they find somebody who is better at a certain job, they might say, hey, do you want to do this full time? Or if they find somebody who just wants to move to a certain role, they'll say, well, yeah, let's give it a shot. You've been a good employee in this section. Let's bring you over here. This is something that you want to do. So it's really about bringing them in and learning right there. So it's just
Yeah.
hands-on learning straight out of high school. And it happens quite a bit in the forest products industry.
So, I mean, if I think about the trades, whether it's the laborers union or the painters union or the steel workers, you know, they always have an apprenticeship program. You're almost not talking about an apprenticeship program. It's almost like learn and earn. You jump into a position and you're working right away for these companies.
Yeah.
And they put you where they need you, basically, is what you're saying?
Right, absolutely. They'll try to find a role that fits best for that person. And one thing that I'm working on also with these companies is internships. So finding kids that may potentially want to try a role, and you're not the full-time employee,
Right.
but you're learning right there, maybe as a sophomore or a junior in high school, over a summer job or a period over the winter time. Like loggers are always out in the winter time. So doing these internships, that's something that I'm building on too, because there are a few people, and we say people, just businesses, and some of the logging businesses they're smaller. I mean, they're 4 or 5 person companies, but they get a lot of work done. They do need help all the time. So internships are really helpful because it lets a kid know at a younger age, hey, this is what the job's about. Is this something that you think you might be interested in? If they can get somebody like that and then bring that person right into a full-time gig, it's just even better because they already know so much more when they
Right.
start.
Right.
So internships, there's a few of them out there right now. And I push a lot of this on our website because it's early, but we have a jobs board that's on the website itself. And at forestryworks.com, the jobs board will come up when you hit the Minnesota tab on there. And with this, my goal over the next year is to kind of break down jobs and internships as we get them. So I have two different separate sections there. And these jobs, I've given admin access to 30 different employers already. I continue to give as more businesses want to be on there. The goal is to just make this an absolute one-stop shop for forest products jobs across the whole state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
So just anything you want to have that's related to forest products will be on this website. And I mean, it's only been a year, but we've put a lot
And
on
it's
there
still
so far.
you're still working and adding to that
Yeah,
now.
we're
And
still
getting-
adding, and jobs will come up and they'll change. And what I always tell kids as well, if I'm out speaking or at job fairs, when you're looking for things, continue to come back and check it out because there's new jobs happening all the time. And I think you and I were talking earlier about the age in this industry. It is, I mean, the average, and this is a national, but the average national age in the industry is 54 years old. So there's a lot of guys and women and men that have been in this industry for a long time, and they're retiring now. So you have some good high-paying jobs that are going to be available, and they really are the industry's just looking for another generation.
Yeah, so you're almost talking about like the end of the baby boomers age right there that are retiring out.
That's exactly what it is. They're looking for this whole new wave of job seekers to come in and take over some of these roles at all different levels.
So if we go to forestryworks.com and we go to the website and looking for, if somebody's listening and they're interested in this, and can they click on that by region of looking for a job, or is it just you have to file through each job posting? Or
yeah, I'll give you a little if you go to the website, basically I'll give you a slight little background on the Forestry Works program in general as well. It started as kind of an idea back in 2015 by a woman down in Alabama named Stephanie Fuller, and she's a fourth generation logger. Logging has been in her family her entire life. I mean, all the way through all generations. And she realized because of this that there was a workforce issue in the state of Alabama. So in just that they were basically more people were retiring and being and kind of being done with their careers, and they weren't bringing enough back in. So with that, they started this Forest Institute in 2018, and that's where Forestry Works kind of developed through. So I work directly with this group down in Alabama, but they started in Alabama. If you go on forestryworks.com, you can look at the map and you'll see a lot of southeast states all around the state of Alabama. And they wanted to expand their reach because it was becoming very successful down in the southeast in what they were doing. So they wanted to expand their reach to the northern area. So they reached out to my boss, Rick Horton, who is executive vice president of MFI, which is Minnesota Forest Industries. And Rick had talked with them. He had Stephanie come up, did a presentation, talked with the Timber Producers Association, a few people from the DNR, the loggers, just a lot of these different groups, and realized, we've all been kind of tiptoeing around that we have a workforce issue with people retiring in the state of Minnesota, just like they did down in Alabama and in a lot of the other states. So at that time, back in 2023, Rick signed on to work with this group and bring this program up to the state of Minnesota. With that, that's kind of where my role came in because Rick already had a full-time job. So how do you go out and go to career fairs and do all this and all these other things on top of that? So he looked for someone who could run the program, and that's kind of where I jumped in at this point to take over the Forestry Works program. So then whirlwind back to the website. So When you go there, what you're going to see is if you go to forestryworks.com specifically, you can pick your state. There's 10 states right now that are in the Forestry Works program. If you click Minnesota, it immediately shows the jobs board, gives you all the information, and the jobs board will show all the jobs currently available. It will show a job. It will show, give you a description of what that's about, the area that it's in, the region. So whether it is south, whether it's around the Duluth area, whether it's up the North Shore, Grand Rapids area, wherever it would be, any of the areas that it is, it tells you kind of where the job is. If it's a full-time job in that spot, sometimes there might be a hybrid job where there's a remote half and an in-person job. Most are in person, but there are a few like that as well. But it will give you that. It'll give you the salary, and then it will have a direct button to apply. So it really just drives right there. So my job with kind of helping run that site is to continue to post these jobs up there, to talk with the HR managers and myself. I'll put jobs on there too. A lot of times the loggers are funny. They don't really want to go on, and they're not technically, they tell me they're not technically savvy enough. So they just talk to them on the phone. I put all their information up there.
Yep. Let's touch on that in a little bit too. But what I wanted to get into now is, we appreciate you coming on the Middle of the Res Road podcast. And let's talk a little bit about your outreach with the tribal communities and the Native American communities and what you've done in that realm.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole entire program it's a nonprofit organization. We're funded by grant money, and the grant money has been given through a number of different entities, through the U.S. Forest Service, the DNR, MFI, TPA, all the ones that the ones that I've been talking about here. And with that, we do have one of the grants was to spread the word to the tribal community, and just let tribal communities around the state of Minnesota be aware of jobs available and the forest products jobs, because I've talked with the employers and they said we have to reach these communities. We know how are we going to do that? So we've used some of that money to work a social media campaign. And after talking with a few different people, and that's kind of where some of my marketing and communication background came in, we did some Google ads all across the state of Minnesota around the tribal communities. We have search words and different things on there. So the idea is to, when somebody is on a phone, on a computer, on anything, they might possibly go, hey, Forestry Works, why does this ad keep popping up? And take a look at it. Again, bringing awareness. And when we started the social media campaign back last summer, it took off. I mean, we had a lot of hits that went, and the idea was to drive traffic to a page on our website, which is specifically kind of geared to tribal communities and letting Indigenous people know that there are jobs available, and you might have the skills for these particular jobs. You might have a path that you want to find, but you're not going to know that unless you just take a look at it, find out a little more, there's a video on there from the Grand Portage member that we had to talk about, just bringing awareness to jobs up there. Again, going back to what you asked me before, if you love the outdoors, if you like to be outside, northern Minnesota, it's hunting, it's fishing, it's biking, it's photography, it's hiking. There's just everything, fish, just whatever you want to do. Yeah. So all of those different things, if you enjoy those activities and you want to try to find possibly a role that you can have a job and do those things, it's available. So we used some of that money to reach there. And then of course I'm coming on here because you guys reach those communities, and I really I want to bring awareness. I want to let all of the state of Minnesota, including the tribal communities, know that I'm available as a resource to try to connect you with people who want to hire for these jobs.
Right. And I know we're going to have your information in the podcast show notes. So I know that our forestry programs would be able to get a hold of you. And, I think specifically about the Fond du Lac Natural Resources program. They have a forestry program there. I don't know if you've spoken with anybody particular at Fond du Lac, but I know a lot of tribal communities specifically have a forestry program already.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've had any contact with any of them, but I think it would be excellent to reach out with them and just go on some of those web pages, whether it's fond du Lac.org or Bois Fort, and visit those communities and visit those forestry programs would be an excellent way to be known with those communities and let them know that, hey, we got this stuff in the works. And, you don't have to do so much footwork. We got it all for you right here.
Yeah, right. I appreciate that information. I mean, I'm here to spread the word, but I'm also here to anyone who has a path that I potentially could take to try to reach these areas. I'm open for it. I mean, send me the info. I'm actually going to in March to Fond du Lac for a kind of a career fair type thing they call as a mentoring day.
Okay.
So I am going to be out there, and I'm in the early stage of connecting with a few people out there, but that won't be my first visit out there. So I'm excited about putting up my booth, and then I invite anyone who sees any of these events that I'm at to come up, talk to me, find out a little more about the business itself. I mean, there's so much resource on the website, but just talking with people when they come up to my trade show booth, when I go to career fairs or I go to a school, it can be so much more helpful than trying to research and find your avenue on a website yourself.
I know that Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College has a career fair there.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's one of the ones that you're talking about, but I also know that the Fond du Lac Ojibwe School, they also have a person who's in charge of career day there.
Okay.
You can even look at the public schools. Most of the public schools around the surrounding area here have what's called an Indian Education Committee.
Okay.
And there's always a person that's in charge of that. You can get a hold of them, and you can actually come in and talk with those students, but also you have an opportunity to talk with the entire school and partner with them and find out, what their career day is like, and maybe you can come in and just be a guest speaker.
Right.
Those opportunities are there. Sounds like you got a lot to do already.
Yeah, I mean, there is quite a bit, and I like I said, I'm trying to network. I had a connection through Deed, who it's a gentleman named James Whirlwind Soldier, and he works for Deed. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, he's been to a couple of our events last year. Yeah.
Sure, he started up kind of a new forum where we're meeting once a month, and this new council. Again, for the jobs and workforce. So that's a very early stage for me, but getting involved with that. So I've made a few different connections that way, and Deed's a great resource, and having him there has been fantastic. He's a smart guy, and he's got a lot of connections himself. So,
so we're a podcast from a tribal community. I want to talk a little bit about some hard questions, kind of like our treaty rights and our treaties here with Fond du Lac. We have two main treaties that make up Fond du Lac. We have the Treaty of 1854, and we also have the Treaty of 1837. I'm not sure how familiar you are with those treaties, but a lot of those treaties were based off of land reclamation for use of the mineral rights from the state and from the tribes. In turn, though, with those treaty rights, we get hunting, fishing, and gathering rights, rights for us to be out on the land. But also in turn, it gives that state the ability to use those minerals that are on the land.
sure.
Coming into the tribal communities, talking with tribal communities, I'm sure a lot of them are going to say, hey, what are you doing being in the forestry program to replenish those minerals, replenish those things that are on the land that keep a vibrant forest.
Sure.
And I think that's important. If you can touch on that a little bit, or if there's anything that you might have knowledge of that are in the works from just the forestry industry.
Yeah, I know that not me specifically, because I'm more for the workforce development, but people in the industry that I have been working with in some of the meetings that I have went to through MFI, TPA, and the DNR, they are trying to make those connections because they realize the importance of the land itself, and that's why we connected with I believe, and I'm forgiven if I'm saying this wrong, but Robert Duchesne.
Deschamps
From
Grand Portage?
from Grand Portage. That's why we connected with him with one of these videos that we did, which was basically to get somebody specifically involved to say, hey, this is a workforce thing, but we want to have your blessing on making this video and doing because we want somebody who's right there in the tribe that can talk about the important issues that he has compared to us just saying there's a lot of jobs available. So
Right.
that was one of the avenues that we took, and there's a few more people that they're trying to connect with as they're doing that. What I need to do is educate myself more on what you said about the treaties, because I know of them, but I haven't read deeply into them. So those are some things that I want to do as I bring more awareness to the jobs. So when I'm in these other meetings with, say, the DNR, especially, I can just voice my opinion. How far that can go, I don't know, but I'll be saying, if I'm saying we're trying to bring workforce into this industry, they need to have that opinion. So the more conversations I can have and be a voice, it's something.
Right. So when somebody goes on to forestryworks.com and we're looking for employment, do you see, we're going to talk a little bit about, do you see a lot of male-female positions, or is this just like a male-dominated industry, or is it open for female to apply?
Yeah, it's open for everybody, but it is pretty male-dominated right now. And that's one of the waves where, I'm trying to connect with and we're trying to change some of our brochures and things and putting more women on there. In one of the videos that we have, there is a couple different women from LP Solutions up in Two Harbors that are in the video, and they love their job. And it's like, we got to show this because we need to get women into the industry.
The point of my question.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is a pretty heavy male-dominated industry right now. But there are also a lot of women in the industry. I just talked with a woman that's around 30 or so at a job fair I was at North Hennepin Community College a week and a half ago, that works for the DNR, that got into the fisheries program and literally knew nothing about that this was even a job that existed. And now she said, now I just get to play with fish all day long, and I love this job. I love being outside and I love doing this, but I did not know anything about this job, and I just kind of found it from a teacher that she had that said, maybe you want to take this route and connect with there. That's one success story as a woman getting into the industry, but she struggled to find her path. Definitely. And we want to my role is to try to make it easier for especially women to get into the industry and not struggle to find a path, because these jobs are they don't just have to be male jobs. That's really what it comes down to. So I definitely try to connect with women when they're at job fairs. Yeah. When they kind of look over and see my posters and my forestry things, I'm just like, come on over. What do you got? Yeah, let's talk. Right. So just make them comfortable.
I know you mentioned that some of the jobs in forestry contains like engineers or DNR, but is there any other specific jobs that someone might not know, like that gal who went into fisheries?
Yeah, the fisheries is a great example. Chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, a lot of times a log, like when you think of a log truck driver, a crane operator, it's not always there. You have industrial mechanics. So when someone who likes to work with their hands and likes to fix machinery, that's not just auto mechanics or planes or vehicles. It's also logging equipment or machines within paper mills. So there's a lot of those jobs. When I go back to the log driver thing, I think it's a cool job that before you should just know this, but you don't specifically realize a log truck driver. When you look at their particular job, it's a 9 to 5 type of a job, because they're just doing a certain region or area around where they're based. So with that, they get to come home, go to their kids' concert or their game or be their family, have dinner at home. Whereas a truck drivers usually have a job where you're on the road 3-4
Yeah.
weeks,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
heading across the country. So that's another one where you think, okay, I'm a truck driver, but I still have kind of a day job.
So, Mike, do you think, like, in your opinion, just by listening to you, this is a thriving industry, and it doesn't look like it's going to be slowing down anytime soon?
No, I mean, there's so much. One of the things I do when I go to schools is I have a list of about, and there's many more than this, but 20 different things that come from trees.
Yeah.
And I try to see how many kids can think it comes
Right.
from a tree or it doesn't come from a tree.
Not just paper
And
anymore.
no, I mean, you have parts of trees just with the components of the trees, and I mean, you're talking vitamins, you're talking shampoo, cosmetics.
Yeah.
There's so many different things, and that's eye-opening to kids that there is, and it might just be a minor percentage, but it does have something that comes from trees in there. So because of that and all of these things that come from trees, it's fun to educate kids that way. Whereas my trick when I go to these things is I put one of the things I put on the list is basically everything on my list comes from trees, so it educates them that way. But I put one thing on there that doesn't, and usually nobody ever knows it because it's the U.S. dollar. The dollar bill is actually not paper; it's cotton.
Cotton, linen. Yep.
Yeah, linen.
Mhm.
So it's kind of fun just to play around. And what it does is just eye opening. And when going back to your question on the thriving industry, it's like there's a lot of stuff that comes from trees, but then it's also important that we're not just sending the message that we're just whipping down trees and cutting up. We're finding spots and we're replenishing. So when you go back to some of these jobs, there are foresters out there that just are about planting and replenishing the
Right.
forest.
And that's what I like to
bringing
hear.
the whole thing back, and that's such a cool thing. And some people really want to bring that to the table. That hey, that's a job I want to do. I want to plant all the trees. So after an area's been logged, and maybe it's been logged because it's a fire risk.
Mhm.
It needs to be. So they'll map off this because we've all seen in the recent history how fire can spread.
Yeah.
So if there's a bad area that needs to be logged, DNR will go in there. They'll map that off. They'll work with the logger. They'll log that whole area. Then all these go to the products that we've been talking about that can get made. But then they go back in and replenish the forest, and that's the big bonus. And there's it's something that you just you can't put any price or anything
Right.
on that. It's keeping our land going.
Yeah, sitting here talking with you, and I go back to my childhood, and when I was a teenager, I know that one of the very first jobs that I've ever had was for the Fond du Lac Forestry program, and I spent my summer planting trees, and that's
Sure.
all I did. And I
Yeah.
remember at that time it was only like I got paid $0.05 a tree, so I
Big
got
bucks.
paid. And at 16, 17 years old, you get pretty dang good at planting that tree.
I bet.
And you're out there all day on the land. And that's what I enjoyed, is that
Yeah.
I was always on the land,
Right.
and that's where I wanted to be. And, you talk about, we're sitting here in a studio right now, and that, the tech industry, a lot of it is dominated by AI and artificial intelligence. And listening to you speak, it almost seems like this is almost one of the industries that they're probably not going to be able to reach so much. You're
Right.
always going to need that one person who's going to be running that saw,
Yeah.
or running that logging truck,
Yeah.
or
Or planting that tree.
planting that tree.
Yeah. Right.
And you talked a little bit about that, and you have some of these old loggers come to you and say, "Hey, can you post this for me?" Because they're not tech savvy like a lot of
Correct.
people are,
Right.
And
yeah.
but on the flip side of that too, whereas somebody who gets in this industry now and they're younger, I know that my children have more tech knowledge than I do right now
Right.
at their age, at 13 and 16, and they probably can jump in and go onto my iPhone and do more than I can do.
Right.
And if they got into this industry now, and if they enjoyed being on the land, they enjoyed being in the forest, but also they have a leg up because they also have that tech knowledge, and they would be able to implement some of that that knowledge into their job stream.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to go off of your planting tree thing, I'll tell you one little quick story, which is kind of cool because I went down to the Minnesota State Fair and had Forestry Works in a component of the MFI, the Minnesota Forest Industries trade show booth down there at the State Fair. And we did a day down there, and we give away the Minnesota State tree, which is a red pine.
Mm-hmm.
So we give away seedlings after they answer. They have to answer some a quick little 3-question thing. They don't have to get any of them right, but it just gets them involved.
Gets
and
them
it
engaged.
educates them.
Yeah.
So we're in the education building. So you have a component of education to this about the land, about the trees, about the forest industry. Just how much is harvested compared to how much is planted. So it's an important thing. So anyway, on your tree planting thing, we give away these seedlings, and I met with, there was a half dozen people that came up to me just going through the booth in the one day that I was down there and said, I'm so glad we were off during the pandemic and didn't have a booth in there for a couple of years. And they said, I'm so glad you guys are back. I have a tree from 10 years ago that you guys gave me, and I planted it. And I started asking all these people to send me pictures, and they were all sending me 20-foot, 25-foot tree pictures that they had that they literally took from the state fair, put in the ground, and planted. So how many of these get planted, you never know, but it's awesome to hear stories like that where they're putting trees in the ground and planting them, because we gave away 12,000 seedlings. So 12 days of the show, we gave away 1,000 of red pine seedlings away each day.
Yeah.
So that's going back to just, wow, you got to hope there's a high percentage of those that are getting planted and they're taking care of them and making them, because it just shows people it's fun. Plant a tree.
Yep.
People are proud of it. It's their state fair tree. They get it. They're taking pictures of it. It's
I know.
cool.
I'm thinking back to when I was planting those trees. This is over 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
And those trees that I planted, they're like entire forests.
Yeah, I imagine.
Right now at this, and it doesn't take long for a tree to pop up,
right.
And grow in a lifespan. 30 years is just a blink of an eye. 100 years is just a blink of an eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, well, I think we're coming up to the end of our podcast here. Mike, is there anything else that you want to add, or any last words that you have?
No, just I guess reach out to me as a resource. So if you hear anything on here, if you go to the forestryworks.com website and check stuff out and you have questions, all my contact information is right on that website. I'm looking to reach out to people to bring awareness. But again, I'm also looking to reach out, and especially just being here specifically to tribal communities and finding any resources that I can get to try to spread the word about the industry, and just find people that are maybe looking. If I can connect you with an employer, that's a big win for me. If I can find somebody and connect them with an employer and try to get them on a path to potentially a successful career.
You talked about social media campaigns. Is there any social medias that you Forestry Works has? Or
yeah, we have some general campaigns that we are working on right now. So hopefully you'll start to see some ads pop up on your phone. We'll try not to get too annoying when they pop up every single time you go onto the internet. But it's really about bringing awareness. So the campaigns are to drive traffic back to the website, just to continue to educate on the website. There's a lot of resource information with education. And one thing to go through, which I would tell people, is there's a section of career cards. And if you go on the website and you go to the career cards, every single career card will give you an idea of what that particular kind of job is about, the education that might be needed, if you have these interests, if you have these values, this might be a good fit for you. So take a look at those. I always tell everybody there's about more than 30 of them on there. Read through them, and maybe you find something that might be a particular good fit for you.
I appreciate that. And thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
If any of our listeners are interested in getting into the forestry program, be sure to check out forestryworks.com, or there's some notes in the podcast show notes. Take a look at those and reach out to Michael, and I'm sure he can point you in the right direction. I appreciate you coming on and letting us know what this program is all about. And I know myself, I'll be checking it out. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for joining us in the middle of the Res Road. Follow the show for more insights from the industry, stories of success, and guests as we share our culture and language. Follow the show and connect with us over social media as well. And if you would like to join us on the show, or if there's a certain subject you would like to hear more about, please let us know. You can connect with us by clicking the contact link below or send us a message on social media. Make sure to send this episode to a friend who could benefit from today's topic, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Thanks for listening, and next time we'll meet you in the middle of the Res Road.